Hello, Nancy.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine.
We are now live.
Yeah.
Okay, so I made Nancy co-host and you're now host. Have a great day.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you, Eddie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
you. The waiting room and start admitting people. Here we go. Excellent. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon or evening, depending on where you're located.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, Nelda. Hi, Freddie, Francis, Lil, Hank. Hi, see you. Okay. So we're going to cover Windows 10 basics today, it sounds like, doesn't it? That's a good topic since that's what's on the agenda. Why not, right? For those of you that are watching us on live streaming, welcome. We're happy to see you and hope you come to get set up and join us to stay with us and join our community and make sure that you're able to participate in programs. Okay. We have a message from Nancy. She's in chat. She's our Get Set Up teaching assistant today. And so if you need any help, you can contact her at help@getsetup.io. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through a few introductory slides and then we'll take some questions and see what kind of things are on people's minds when it comes to using Windows 10. And we'll think about things you may or may not know about Windows 10. And sometimes we don't know what is part of Windows 10 and what isn't. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen here and show you a few slides to get started with Windows 10 basics. Okay, so I'm Bob Cohen. I'm in Seal Beach, California. I was born in Chicago and I went to college and stayed on the West Coast. Worked in the tech industry. About 2007, I started teaching adult education and joined Get Set Up in January of this year and been teaching classes. I do a lot of classes on Windows, but I also use Macs. I use Google. I use a lot of technology. But I like to try and make technology simpler to understand. It's kind of a challenge that I take on for people. So I enjoy doing that and find it's kind of fun and it helps me learn things too. Okay, so you know a little bit about Get Set Up already if you've been in other classes. So we are a learning community and ideally we can see you and your cameras are on so that if you want to get our attention, I can see people wave and things like that. If you're joining by live stream, we encourage you to participate. Join us at getsetup.io and set up a free account. The classes are free and all of our education and training materials are free, and you can request a recording after class as well at help@getsetup.io. And even though we might be mentioning some products or technologies, we're not paid to promote anything specific. Okay, so let's take a look at our agenda today. This kind of assumes that you may or may not know anything about Windows. So first of all, what is Windows 10? Then we're going to go through a few little slides, but we're going to start looking at my desktop and we'll show you how to learn your way around the desktop, the start menu, and the taskbar and what these things are and what's there and what you can do with them. How you can check your computer security, starting and closing applications, and then using some things you might not know about like right-click, search, and some other tips. I saw someone had their hand raised. Did someone have a question or anything? I didn't know whether or not they lowered their hand or just might have clicked it by accident. Sometimes we click things by accident and we don't always realize it. Okay, are there anything specific that you're hoping to learn about Windows 10? I have a little agenda to cover and we'll cover all of that, but if there's time, before we finish and I can fit something in, I'll try my best. I don't know if I'll know the answer to it, but we'll give it a try. Anybody
I
hoping
have
to?
trouble with the tiles, all the tiles, I have trouble.
You have trouble with tiles, okay.
Mhm.
Um, moving them around or understanding what they do or just
And
everything?
understanding.
Okay, all right. All right, Lil, I can see your chin, but I can't see your face. Can you point the camera up a little? There we go. Thanks.
I don't know how to
You're
get
on a
past
phone
this.
probably, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on my phone because my desktop is open. I was trying to follow along with
Oh, okay. All right.
my
Well,
computer.
don't worry about it then. I know sometimes if you don't have a little stand for your phone, it's hard to point the camera at the right angle. So don't worry about it then. Okay. Anybody else have anything? So we got tiles. We are going to cover tiles, Lil. And
Sometimes
Plus,
when
I
I
don't know
take
how to
a,
do this.
sometimes when I take a Zoom class and I get a certificate, I'm unable to open up the certificate to run.
I'm sorry, Vicky, I have a little bit of trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that again?
When I take classes on Zoom, I get a certificate. But when I try to download the certificate, I'm unable to open it up.
Okay, that's kind of off our agenda a little bit. It just, I don't know what kind of certificate is. It gets set up. I don't believe we hand out certificates. People complete classes, so I'm not sure what kind of a document you're receiving or anything like that, but it probably has to do with, needing a program to open up the certificate.
Oh, okay.
Necessary. That's usually what it means, that there's some form of file that it's coming in as a file and you don't have the right application to open up
I
that.
don't know what's going on.
Someone else had a question? Okay, what Nancy might do periodically is she might mute everyone. Microphones do pick up a lot of noise in the background, and we want to make sure that everybody can listen and hear me properly. And if anybody does have a question, you can raise your hand or put something in chat, or if you need to, interrupt. But it helps a little bit to get our attention.
Well, I don't know.
Call on you. Okay, Nancy, can you mute? See if we have somebody that needs to be muted, or I'm not sure where we're picking up that sound.
I have muted them, but they are getting unmuted again and again.
Okay, all right, okay. So, okay, we'll have to watch that, okay? Because if you, generally with Zoom etiquette, it's like if I were having you in a live classroom, or and I started class, it would be, now's a good time to put your phone on vibrate, mode, type of thing. So generally people stay muted unless they're speaking on Zoom, because microphones on computers do tend to pick up a lot of noise and interference. And so sometimes that can interrupt, when people are talking or having a conversation. Okay, so we got a couple of questions. You probably learned some things about Windows you may not have known either. So the first thing about Windows is that Windows 10 is a piece of software that is made by Microsoft, the corporation. Microsoft makes Windows 10, and they sell it to computer companies like HP and Dell and others that install it on their computers. So when you buy a computer from a company that's already got Windows 10 installed on it, Windows 10 is made by Microsoft. The actual hardware might be made by somebody else, but it's considered a Windows computer. And Windows 10 has been around for about 5 years. And it includes a lot of things with it. It helps the hardware function. Without an operating system and software, your hardware is basically a pretty expensive paperweight, so it really doesn't do much. Apple makes operating systems for Macs called Mac OS. They make operating systems.
Well,
iPhones and
I'd like, now I want to close it out and go back to the beginning. To
I-
show
I'm
you,
Join a meeting?
Betty,
I
did you have a question or are you? Okay, all right, we'll stay unmuted. If you're having a conversation, it really does help to stay muted in the background. Okay, so if you're on iOS, iPhones and iPads have an operating system that's supplied by Apple when you buy them. If you have an Android phone or a Chromebook, might have the Chrome or Android operating system that's made by Google. So Apple, Microsoft, and Google make operating systems that are all pieces of software. And an operating system acts like a middle layer of a layer cake. If you think of technology like a layer cake and you think of the bottom layer as the hardware, the middle layer is the operating system. So the operating system communicates to the hardware, like the monitor, the display, the keyboard, the trackpad, the mouse, other things like that. And the top layer is the layer that's the one we like the most because it has applications that we use on our computer. We don't really use an operating system. We use applications, things like mail, things like a web browser, things like a word processor, things like Zoom. These are all applications, and the applications sit on top of the operating system, and the operating system acts as an in-between layer between the applications and the hardware. So the operating system is able to do that and able to function and manage a lot of the things on the hardware and make it more consistent for applications. So when you want to print something, the application uses the printer tools that are in the operating system. Or when you want to go out to the internet, the application uses the tools that the operating system provides. When you want security, it uses the security that's available there too. So it does all of these things for you that make it really possible for you to use your computer and take advantage of it. Any questions about what the operating system does? It does a lot more, but this is a good basic level of understanding for people to get started. Okay. Your desktop, when you look at what's on your display, that's commonly called your desktop. And it has things like a background image. It has toolbars like a taskbar. It has something called a start menu when you click the start button. It has tiles that show you links to applications, and it has search boxes and a few other tools. And that's part of the operating system that you use. The operating system's there to make it easy for you and consistent for you. It's like taking the same road to get to a store or a destination. The more familiar you are with it, the easier it is to remember how to do things. And so your desktop is a resource for you that helps make it easier. And we're going to take a look at learning your way around the desktop, because that'll help you understand how to take advantage of Windows a little bit more. There's a button on a trackpad, typically at the upper left, called a left click button. You may not actually see a button, but if you press in the upper left corner, if you press in the upper right corner, it's called a right click. Mice usually have a left click and a right click. And the right click brings up a lot of menus that you may not have realized are there, that give you really quick and resources and quick access to tools in almost every application they're available. And so we'll take a look at some right click functions, because right clicking gives you the ability to customize some things that you might want to customize, things like tiles and your taskbar and a few other things too. And then Windows got its name because it is a Windows operating system. When you open up an application, it opens up a window on your desktop, and the application runs and works inside of that window. You can have more than one application open at a time, and you would have more than one window open at a time. If you think about it, if you look at your smartphone, your smartphone doesn't have windows the same way as your desktop or laptop does. And smartphones operating systems are not Windows-based operating systems. When an application opens up on your smartphone, it takes over the whole screen. Whereas when an application starts on a Windows operating system, you have the ability to run multiple windows on your desktop. So you can use two applications side by side or have many windows open if you want to, if you're working with different applications. And Windows has a couple of tools that have been very consistent ever since Windows 3.1 many years ago. They have an X that closes a window. They have a minus button that makes it, minimizes it, and they have an in-between button that actually resizes the window or maximizes it for you. And it gives you the ability to have multiple things open at the same time and do what people call, which is multitasking. And then there are some basic operations we're going to take a look at: powering down, using the search tool, using Cortana, doing a security and update check. And I'll show you where those things are as we go through Windows. And you're going to get an email after class with some links to Microsoft's help desk website that'll have more information on this. So let's see. Oh, okay. It says, let's take a look. Let me pause for questions here and see if anybody has any questions about Windows now that we've talked about a few topics. Anybody have anything that they thought that kind of prompted a question for anything that they might have? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, if you think of one, let me know as we go through. I'm going to switch over to sharing my Windows desktop screen, and you're welcome to follow along if you want to. Sometimes Zoom has what is called a lag, which means if I move my mouse, it may not actually move as fast for you as it moves for me. So I'm going to try and move my mouse slowly, and I'll repeat many steps as well. Okay, so what we see here is my desktop. I'm going to move my chat box out of the way so it doesn't interrupt my view of my desktop. Okay, I've got a desktop here that has a traditional Windows background picture here. I've got some icons and links to some files that are here on my desktop. And at the bottom, I have what is called the taskbar. The taskbar is what's all at the bottom row here. It's usually at the bottom. It is possible to change where it is on your computer screen, but it's the standard way is that's the bottom. Okay, so what we have is a number of icons here. Okay, and each of these icons represents something. Usually when you move your mouse over an icon, it'll give you a little tooltip, a tiny bit of text, and it'll tell you this is PowerPoint, this is Microsoft Office, this is settings, this is mail, this is File Explorer, and each of these icons is an application. And so I have some applications. Some applications come standard in your taskbar. And I'll be honest, I can't remember exactly which ones they are because I've customized mine a little bit, but I haven't tried to change it too much for you. At the right, there's some other information. There's a time, and if you hover over that, it'll explain the date. It'll show me what my speakers are set to. It'll tell me about my internet connection. It'll show me my battery life. I have a laptop, so it shows me that. It tells me my OneDrive, which is Microsoft's cloud that I'm connected to, is up to date. There is something called Meet Now. Microsoft, like Google and Zoom and Skype and everybody, they all have meeting applications, and Microsoft has one that comes with Office. And then I have a little up arrow here that shows hidden icons. We're going to come back to that one later. Okay, so any questions so far about things on the taskbar? We're going to show you how to get things into the taskbar as well, because that's a common question from people.
Well, what does the Meet Now?
Meet Now is kind of like Microsoft's version of Zoom and chat. It's used as part of their Microsoft 365 paid subscription, people that purchase it, Microsoft 365, but it's basically like their version of Zoom and Google Meet.
Thank you.
Sure. I ended up with it because I have Microsoft 365. And so it shows up for me. It might not show up for you. So at the lower left and on your keyboard probably also is the Windows Start button. The Start button is probably going to be the most used things you use on your desktop. And when you click on it with the left click, it opens up the Start menu. There's 3 columns to the Start menu. The left column has some quick links. We'll look at those in a minute. The middle column has a list of applications that are installed on your computer. And the right column is the tiles that we have here. Now, the tiles kind of came about because there are many Windows laptops that are sold with touch screens. Windows includes that capability as part of the Windows operating system. And many laptop manufacturers make laptops that have touch sensitive screens so you can tap on things. Well, you can see it. This is a little bit easier. This tile for Microsoft Edge or Calculator here or Office is a little bit easier. It's bigger to tap on with a fingertip than these smaller icons in the taskbar. So sometimes people prefer tiles as opposed to icons in the taskbar. And so it's just another way of getting to things that's provided, that's available for you to use if you want to use it. And you can customize the tiles. We'll show you those in a minute. The left column here has a few quick settings. Power. So whenever you have your computer on and you want to change this power, power it off, you would click on power. So power will typically give you an option to put it to sleep or to shut it down or to restart it. Now it looks like I have some updates from Microsoft here that are available to install. We're going to take a look at that in a minute, but updates are automatic in Microsoft. When you bought Windows 10, Microsoft automatically gives you updates to the Windows 10 operating system that fix security bugs that people might have found or enhance it in some way. And they're free. They're part of Windows 10. So I could do that now, but I'm not going to. And normally your computer will update automatically. And if it needs to shut down and restart, it will do that automatically as well, typically when it's asleep. Okay, so even though you might be asleep, and what sleeping does is it puts your computer into a low power mode, so it doesn't use as much power, but it keeps all the applications exactly the way you left them. So when you wake up your computer, if you were working on a document, if you were browsing the web, all of those things will reappear. All of those windows will reappear when you wake it up. So sleep and wake up are the 2 modes that people use most often. But Microsoft does suggest that every so often you should shut down your computer about every 4 or 5 days. Okay, Roz, you've got a question. You've got your hand up. Thank you.
Yes, the sleep mode. When you put it on sleep mode, is that a good thing to do and you maybe like at night, or should you power off your computer whenever you leave your computer? I mean, what does sleep mode, I mean, are the chances of people getting into your computer in the sleep mode?
Well, if you're powered off, nobody can do anything on your computer, right? So that's one thing of being sure about when you're powered off. However, Microsoft can't download and install updates if you're powered off. And so typically when you're not active on your computer, when it's asleep, is when Microsoft will check for updates and download them and install them for you. So when you start using your computer the next morning, Microsoft's updated computers. As long as you've got security on your computer you are unlikely to have anybody hack into it or do anything with it, as long as you've got security. And Windows 10 comes built in with standard security from Microsoft. You don't have to purchase anything extra. We're going to take a look at security settings for that.
Is that AVIVA?
No, Microsoft actually has their own software, Microsoft Windows Defender, that's included with Windows.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, sure. Okay, so these are some basic functions to understand about your computer. Never, unless you just can't get your computer to shut off in any other way, always use the power setting in the start menu to power down your computer. It's the best thing for making sure that your computer runs better, and it makes sure the software gets tucked away at night. It's literally like tucking away somebody at night. Certain things have to go certain places in the software when the computer powers down. And if you hit the power button, then the software can't do that. But if you power down using the power setting in start, it makes the power down cycle much smoother for the software and keeps your Windows operating system happier. Not that you have to worry about keeping it happy, but when it's happy, it works better. Okay.
Is that the sleep button?
I'm sorry, Lauda?
Is that the sleep button?
It's the power button.
I don't see yeah, I see the power button, but when I hit the power button, it says sleep, shut down, or restart.
Right, right. You don't see update and shut down. You won't see everything I see because I have an update.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's ready to be installed.
But are we, so at night, am I supposed to do the sleep button?
Well, most of the time your computer will automatically go to sleep on its own. When the screen goes blank, if your computer is like that, where the screen goes blank on you, it is going to sleep on its own. Usually computers will go to sleep in about anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, but at night, just put it to sleep, tuck it in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, because it's meant to be asleep most of the time. Like your phone, when your phone screen goes blank, it's not powered off. It's actually just asleep, and it's so that it can send and receive phone calls and update software and do other things like that. Okay, so the next thing is the alphabetical list of icons here. Okay, so it will tell you if things were recently added, but it normally will give you things starting with A and going down through B, C, D, E, F, any software. Microsoft provides some standard software like mail and apps and music and the Microsoft Store and a movie player, but you can install other applications. And Microsoft has a store, just like Android and Macs and iPhones do, but Microsoft has an application store called the Microsoft Store. So if you wanted to install or look for an application, someone was looking for Amazon Prime Video, someone was looking for Netflix, and you can find these things in the Microsoft Store. There is a search icon here. So if you were looking for something, you could search for it now, and then, or you could look at the store items by category here. Home, gaming. Gaming's very popular with Windows users. Entertainment is popular. You can download Pandora, Amazon Music, Netflix, Prime Video, Spotify, and even rent movies or buy movies directly from Amazon or from Microsoft, because this is the Microsoft Store. So they have rental movies that you can actually rent and watch on your PC from Microsoft. So they have all these different apps like Pandora. So if you want, Pandora is free. So if I wanted to install Pandora, I would click on it in the App Store, and it'll come up and it says get, it's free. And so if I click on get, it's going to install it on my computer. Okay, so it's downloading now, and it'll take a little while to download, but I don't have to wait for it to download. I can do other things while it's downloading. So it's not going to be too long, and so it's getting going pretty fast here. It's free, but I think Pandora might have ads, and if you want to get rid of the ads, you have to upgrade to premium is all. But you can watch the progress bar if you want to see it downloading for any application. Some applications you might have to download from the web, like if you prefer using Google Chrome, or if you wanted to, when you downloaded Zoom, you downloaded it from the web. Now, I'm going to close my Microsoft Store here, and let's check and see if the Pandora is in this list of applications. Well, let's go down to the P's here, and sure enough, Pandora is here. Okay, so it's new. Now, let's say I really like listening to Pandora a lot, and I don't want to have to constantly go to the start menu, scroll down, and find Pandora, right? I mean, the idea is your computer should be easier to use. So if I right-click on an application in this list, it brings up a menu, okay? Two or three things usually. Pin to start means that I can pin it to my tiles menu, okay? So here it is in tiles, and if I left click on this, I can drag it around and I can move it up to the top, say, gee, I really like Pandora a lot. I want to use it. Okay, so then when I go back to start, there's Pandora right there, easier to find. I don't have to go scrolling through the list to find it. It's right here in this list. I have a calculator app. Let's say I use the calculator app a lot and I use it so much, I want to actually pin it in my taskbar. Okay, here's the calculator app. It's built in to Microsoft. Okay, if I go to start and calculator and right click on it, it gives me the ability to change the type of calculator it is. Some applications have options like that. And then there's more. I can actually pin it to the taskbar. Now, watch my taskbar right around here, where to the right here. If I click on pin to taskbar, my calculator shows up here. What happens when I close my start menu? Now my calculator is in my taskbar and I can just find it from my desktop whenever I want to. I don't even have to click on the start menu. So if it's in the taskbar, it doesn't use up any resources, it doesn't take up any memory. It's just something that's really, really quick to get to. And it gives you the, go ahead, Nelda, sorry.
What's the difference between putting it on the taskbar and putting it on your desktop? Does the desktop take up space then? Is that it?
No, if I wanted to, I could, I think if I click,
I have a lot on my desktop.
I can put it on my desktop if I want to. The way you get it on your desktop is if I see it in the start menu in tiles here, I can drag it over here and now it's on my desktop.
Okay.
So it's just, but if I can either have it in my taskbar or on my desktop, just personal preference. There's
Oh,
no
okay.
real difference.
Okay.
So if I say, gee, I'd rather have this icon on my desktop instead of it in the taskbar, or if I want it in both places, that's okay too. The thing about the desktop is that sometimes if I open up the calculator window here, if I have a calculator window open, for example, and I make it maximized, my desktop is covered up, but my taskbar is not. So some people prefer to have things in their taskbar because they can get to them whether they have a window open or not. Some people are just happy having it on their desktop. It's Microsoft's way of saying, you know, you can have it, you know, with pickles and relish or with mustard and ketchup, you know, but it's still going to be a hot dog or a hamburger, you know, by the time you're done with it. That help out? Great. Yeah. Yeah, I ate at a new hamburger place for lunch today and it was good, but you know, I just take them standard to start with because I like to start with them, but then I'd change what I might want on them. Okay, so here's calculator in my taskbar, and here's the Microsoft Store. You notice something different happened when I slid my mouse from calculator over to the store. Something popped up, okay, and I can just move my mouse up and I immediately open up the store window because the store is still open. Now, if I open the calculator, notice there's a little tiny highlighting bar just below the icon here. And if I move over from one to another, it gives me a preview of what I see in that application. It's just another way of saying, okay, I want to see a preview. It's like glancing in a store window. You're kind of debating, do I go into the store? Do they have anything interesting I want to see or not? But if they can show you some samples of things, you might walk in. Well, think of these as kind of like previews of what you have open in that application so that if you're working with an application, you can just switch back and forth to it and you don't have to keep the window open. But you can keep more than one window open on your desktop. This little icon that makes the window smaller lets me have windows. And if you drag at the top, it's kind of hidden now these days. But if you drag your mouse, if you click on your mouse and you click at the top of a window, you can drag it around your screen. And if you go to the corners, you can reposition the size and the shape of it and move it around. So you could actually have two windows open side by side and use them by just clicking into one window or another. That becomes the active window that you use. Each window you do have open on your computer uses up a little more resources on your computer. So if you have a fast enough computer, you can have many windows open. If you have a little slower computer, you might only be able to have a few windows open before you notice it slowing down. Yeah, Lil.
I tried when I'm on Zoom, I tried to do that, move the Zoom window over, but I couldn't do that. Do you know if that's possible?
It is possible. It depends on where you click and drag with the Zoom window. Zoom is a window on your desktop, and it could be that if it's full size, you typically can't drag it around. So if it's full size and takes up the whole desktop, you can't drag it. If you use Zoom has a few little things in the window that give you the ability to change the size of the window, but you can drag you should be able to drag any window around on your desktop. Just might take a little practice and learning what Zoom's controls are, because Zoom has some other controls that make it take over some things on your desktop that are a little bit different from standard Windows.
Okay. Thank you. I'll have to practice.
The Zoom classes, they cover that, so it's something that I think there's something called full screen mode and a few other things in Zoom that you have to set to change the way it shows up on your desktop.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so couple of things that you may not know about your taskbar. This little circle is called Cortana. And if I click on it, it opens up Cortana. Cortana is Microsoft's personal assistant, much like Siri and Amazon's and Google's, okay? And Cortana lets you talk to it. If you have a microphone on your computer, which you probably do because you're using Zoom, you can ask Cortana. I was buying a bicycle helmet and I took a piece of string and then measured around my head for my helmet size, and then put the string down and measured it. My ruler was in inches and it measured 22 inches. And I had to convert it to centimeters in order to order the right size helmet. So I did this. Cortana, how many centimeters is 22 inches?
22 inches is 55.88 centimeters.
So you can do things with Cortana, right? You don't have to type, right? And so these, but it's kind of like when I took one of my first dogs to obedience training, the dog trainer said something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. He says, we're not here to train the dog, we're here to train the owner. Part of talking to Cortana is understanding what she can do. So I can do things like, Cortana, open up the calculator app.
Okay. I'll open calculator.
So you can use her to open up applications. You can use her to search the web. I can say, Cortana, where are some pizza places nearby?
I found 3 places matching pizza places near you.
Okay, and
There's
so
Domino's
she'll,
Pizza at 2934 Westminster Avenue in Seal Beach.
there we go.
It's less than a mile away.
Okay,
So
so
it's going, that is just like Siri on iPhone?
it's she is different from Siri, but she is very similar in what she will do. Okay, so obviously Microsoft would like you to use Cortana and Apple would prefer you use Siri, but they built in a personal assistant. You can type things to Cortana as well. Like I could type in, where is pizza? Okay. And it'll give me results as well, but it'll search, the web. She'll do things for you. She'll help you do a lot of things. Francis, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Do you have to sign up for an account? Because I'm looking at my desktop now. I haven't used that in the past.
Yeah, in
They
Microsoft,
sign in.
yeah, Microsoft services like Cortana and a few others require that you have a OneDrive. They require you have a Microsoft account. But if you have a OneDrive account, or if you activated Windows, and used an email to activate it, you already have a Microsoft account available. And so but you have to have one in order to typically use Cortana, or for the most part. But it's your choice whether you prefer to use Cortana or Siri or Amazon or whatever. But it's built into your desk. It's available on your computer. And it will do a lot of things for you that you might not. So you can automatically, say, hey, it has examples, how much is 50 pesos? So if you're doing currency conversion, or if you want to send an email, or you want to open up an application or something, you can talk to your computer and have her do things. Okay, that's what that circle is, if you see it in your taskbar. And then there's this funny little icon that shows up next to Cortana. But before I see icon for applications, it's called Task View. Now, why would you care about Task View? Well, let's say you were working on a document, or you were reading an email and it was a week ago, or you were browsing a web page and you just kind of forgot what you were doing and you wanted to remember, I know I was looking at that a week ago. I know. And so Task View keeps track of what you've been doing for about 30 days. It can do more if you want to, but it keeps 30 days. So here's today. We were looking at Cortana, the Microsoft Store. Earlier today, I looked at Pandora. I was doing some PowerPoint presentations. I was using Microsoft Edge for browsing. I was looking at the store, earlier. So it keeps track of all of these things, and we'll keep them in order. So if you just want to find something you were working on recently, you can do that. And it has a slider bar on the right that lets you slide and look at things by date if you want to. You can change it to give, to show more days and timeline if you want to, but it's kind of like, it's going to keep track of what you were doing on your computer for you if you want it to. And so you can just use it to help remember what you were doing a few days ago. And when you're done with task view, you just click anywhere on your desktop and that closes it for you. Now, there is a search box here in the taskbar. This search box is very powerful. If I just click in it, it brings up the search menu. It will search everywhere. It'll search in applications. It'll search in documents, on my files. It'll search the web. And I can even click on more. It'll search for things in emails and folders. Now, these are in the Microsoft application. So people and contacts, photos, settings, and videos. So I can narrow the search. If I just want to search in documents, I can just say I want to search in documents. It gives you a list of things you recently were working on this PC. If I look at apps, it'll bring up some of the recent apps I've used. Okay. If I go to the web, it'll give me I can just start typing to search the web, and it will give me the ability to search anywhere on the web. Or I can search it within things like music and start typing to search music if I want to search for things. But this search tool will search not only on the web, it'll search inside your computer for things too. Yeah, Francis, you have your hand
I'm
up.
sorry, but under more, I'm not seeing email and all of those different options. So I'm only seeing folders, music, and videos. So is
You're-
that something I can add or?
You may not be using email on your Windows 10 computer. You may be using a different mail solution. So sometimes you won't see those things available. Everybody may have had different settings set up on their computer in terms of the applications that are used. This is what Microsoft supplies standard. Sometimes computer manufacturers make some changes to the settings in Windows that are different from Microsoft standard settings. But if you have the email application, from Microsoft, typically you will see the ability to search in your email. But you may not see all of these if you don't have these applications active. Because I use Microsoft Live and I have a Microsoft account and a Microsoft email address, those may trigger some of those things that you may not have. Okay, Lil, you have your hand up?
Yes, I was looking for task view to put it on my taskbar, and I just don't see it. It's when I click on the start menu,
What were you looking for, Lil? I'm sorry, I missed that.
task view.
Oh, task view. Okay, it's a standard. It's not an application. If you you can do something in something. If you right click on your taskbar,
Oh, there it is.
you will
Okay.
see a menu, and if I can hide this may be, I can hide the Cortana button, and I click the checkbox, but if I check it, it'll show up. So you can customize the task view by taskbar, I'm sorry, by right clicking it and choosing some things that show up here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. The right click menu gives you access to a lot of options that you may not realize are there. I can even change the size of the taskbar. Let's see if I remember how to do it. By right clicking on it, I can change how things look on the taskbar. I can change where it's positioned on my desktop. So if I like it at the bottom, or if I prefer to have it at the top, I can move it to the top just by changing that setting. And then I can right click and go to taskbar settings, and I can change it back to the bottom. I prefer mine at the bottom. I don't know why. Show what types of things show on your taskbar, either by right clicking or by using these settings here. And then when you're done with it, you can just close it here. You can even change the color if you want to. Okay. So let's see, taskbar, task view, Microsoft Store. Let's check our security real quickly, okay? In the lower right, I have something that says show hidden icons. You may see a security icon, okay? And usually what happens here is that sometimes you'll see a little dot or an icon here. I'm going to make my taskbar a little bit bigger here for everybody to see. Hold on a second. And there's a setting for that where I can change, where I can make everything a little bit bigger. Now everything's a little bit bigger. So you might see a little orange dot or something like that. And it's a message. It's called a notification. It's to get your attention. Your device needs to restart to install updates. I can select a time to restart. Okay, so I can click on this and it'll let me select time to restart my computer for updates. Updates are free. And so what normally happens on Windows Update is it normally downloads software and installs it outside of active hours. And the standard active hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Now, if you're wondering, how do you get to Windows Update? There's a couple of ways to do it. One thing I can do is just type in search and type Windows Update in search, and it'll take me to check for Windows Update settings or check for updates if I want to check for updates. So there's about 4 ways you can get to updates like this. But the easiest one is either just to type search or in the settings function, if you go to start and settings, and you see, well, I have to close this, I'm sorry. Go to start and then settings. There is an option here for update and security. And there's a lot of other settings, and we have a class on Windows 10 settings that goes into many of these. So on Windows 10 settings, I can restart now or schedule the restart. But it tells me I've got an update that is ready to install, okay? And so it'll do it after 5 o'clock if I just leave my computer alone and walk away. The other thing you can check on here is Windows Security. Windows Security is built into Windows 10. Out of the box, when you bought Windows 10, it came with antivirus and anti-malware protection. So, but many manufacturers do offer optional packages that people can purchase and install if they want to. But Windows from Microsoft supplies virus and threat protection for you automatically. And so Windows Security is built into Microsoft out of the box. And if you want to check up on your security, you would go to Start, Settings, Update and Security, and just go to Windows Security to check it. The other way you can do it is if you go to your taskbar and you see an icon that looks like a security shield, it will probably say, if everything's working right, no actions needed. But if you're curious about just looking at it, if you click on it, it brings up the security at a glance menu. And as long as everything's checked, it doesn't have a red or a yellow, checkbox on it, everything's fine. And if nothing's fine, it'll actually pop up a little message in your taskbar to show it to you all the time while you're using your computer. And with the Windows settings class, we go into a lot of those things, but I just wanted to make sure you knew how to check for Windows Update because it's a basic operation. It's like putting gasoline into a car or charging an electric vehicle. You've got to make sure it's, certain things are ready and working right. Or more like, changing the oil, I guess, probably is the equivalent.
So I really didn't need to buy Weboot.
I'm sorry, Vicki, what's the question again?
I purchased a security system, Weboot.
Uh-huh.
So I should not have paid that money for that then, right?
You didn't have to, no, because Windows 10 from Microsoft includes security software.
Okay.
Right, right.
They got money out of me, okay.
Well, the thing when you buy a retail computer from a retail manufacturer, they offer a lot of trial versions of software and subscriptions and things like that. That's one way they keep the price of computers down. But it's got a name in the industry for it's just junkware that's not necessary, but they will get the companies will pay a commission to the computer manufacturer if you purchase their software. So that's how they make a little extra money after you've bought the computer itself. Because surprisingly, hardware prices are pretty competitive between computer manufacturers.
So WebRoot is just another one that I didn't have to get either.
Yeah, WebRoot's another security software. There's a lot of them out there. I mean, Norton and McAfee are probably two of the best known names. And so, but if as far as protecting you on Windows from malicious software and virus and threat protection, it's built into Windows. You can replace the Windows one if you want to. And Microsoft doesn't really make a big deal of promoting their own because there's a lot of companies that make money by selling additional security software for Windows. And there are companies that would probably, they might take legal action against Microsoft if they said, well, we're going to automatically include ours. They automatically included security software since Windows 8, and there was no Windows 9. So you didn't miss anything, but since Windows 8, they've been including it.
On my Windows update, it says feature update to Windows 10 version 20H2 is ready. And I can download and install it. So I should do that.
Don't do it right now because it'll stop your Zoom.
Not right now.
Right. But after, but yeah, if there is a critical update that is supposed to be installed to fix security issues or malicious software issues or reliability issues, Microsoft will automatically install it. Sometimes there are just feature updates that aren't considered critical. They're considered something that's not critical, and so they might let it go for a while until you decide to do an update. And eventually they will roll all of that into one big update and update it automatically if you want it. But feature updates means that they've added some new features to Windows that's available.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Okay. Security critical updates mean it's a security issue or a functional, something that they've discovered is broken in the software that they're fixing. Okay. Let me just show you one more thing. This little icon for a file folder is how you open what's called File Explorer. That's what Microsoft calls the feature that gives you a view of all of your files and folders on your computer. And if you're ever looking for something, you can search for it. So if you're searching for something that has a name, that you want to use, you can search for it by name, or you can search by using the File Explorer feature. And if you have OneDrive, it'll show you your OneDrive folders. Otherwise, it'll show you this PC and show you things you've got on this PC or in other disk drives you might have attached if you have additional accessory drives. And then it usually gives you a quick access list of things that you've looked at recently so that you can get to them quickly if you want to. So Microsoft gives you about 4 or 5 different ways to get to things. And we do a class on organizing files on your PC that explains File Explorer a lot more for you as well. And but Microsoft's built in a lot of applications into Windows and made Windows extremely functional. They really did a lot to improve it between Windows 7 and Windows 10. But they tried to keep it familiar enough so that people could find their way around and using it. Okay. This is about Windows 10 basics. Can you believe we spent an hour talking about Windows 10 basics? We could probably spend more time, I know. Part of it's don't be afraid of your computer. It's there as a tool to make life better for you. I always believe that you should not have to work for your technology. Your technology should work for you. But that isn't always the way it works. But it's a learning process. But Windows 10, that's how you got it. The cheapest way to buy it is when you buy it installed on a new computer. Virtually all retail Windows computers come with it pre-installed. Your desktop includes a lot of tools. You can search, you can use Cortana, right click on things, and you'll find that there are some options available that you might not know about. You're going to get an email with some links that will take you to Microsoft website. If you're not familiar with settings on Windows 10, you want to learn more in the Windows 10 settings class. I show people around the settings of Windows, how you can customize things like your background, your mouse, and sizes of text and stuff like that. And then OneDrive is a great class. And then Zoom virtual backgrounds, everybody seems to, that's a really popular class. So we get a lot of people for that. The email will have links and some notes. Feel free to give us some feedback. Feel free to, recommend us to some friends and suggest things. You can always request a recording by sending an email to help@getsetup.io. And there's not new classes and new tools out there. We've got a new website that's set up that will help you with a lot of things and help get you familiar with a lot of activity that's out there. So
Thank you, Bob. I've got to go. My husband's got to use it.
that's okay. We got to go. We're going. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye.
Nelda. Thanks everybody for joining, and appreciate your patience. And I guess
Thank
we
you.
back on, but thank you very much. Take
Thank
care.
you.
We'll see
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.